Welcome to a brand new edition and a new season of the Civ Battle Royale, officially known as Cbrix, the CBRX. We're here for a brand new season, and we thank you for waiting so patiently for us. And here we are ready to begin. My name is Dawkins, and let's get right into it. A surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. This is Coyote, your host for the first episode of Season 1 of Cbrix. On behalf of all Blue Cassette, we welcome you to the new Battle Royale. It has been some time since Mark 2.1 ended in December of 2018, and the team has been recording Season 1 since early March. The game is presently beyond turn 900 plus, but today we're going to go over the first 30 turns and give some quick introductions and some inside information from the results of our test runs of this setup. OC of the week. OC of this week goes to Top Hat. Here we can see the dastardly Pedro II scheme over his plans for the Cbrix. Pedro might have painted the submarine in his colors, but it's still going to be all unpredictable chaos from the start. We won't be seeing much more of him, although Mini Pedro will be live and active on the Discord, as he will be announcing when the website has been updated with the images. For those that want a tiny head start, less than a minute, be sure to join the Discord, as our bot will announce the second the website has the images, which will usually be 20 to 30 seconds before midnight UTC time, depending on the CDN caching time. Erlin's Tile Accurate Map. Erlin has a new updated tile accurate map for everyone. This time he has painstakingly gone and placed every river on the map to better help us locate the exact locations of each civ. It really does add another layer of context. For map lovers like us, we can also look forward to precisely accurate tile maps from here on out, as the entire in-game map will be shown each week in our director's cut videos and albums. Patreon plus Ko-Fi. Many in the community are already aware of our Patreon page, which we've set up to cover our server hosting, image hosting, and electricity bills, which we accumulate from bringing you our content. We don't ask for much, and if the Cbrix is something you come to regularly enjoy, please do consider supporting us each month, even if it's just for $1 US. I personally donate to the Patreon myself. I don't see that money. It goes straight into the Civ Battle Royale content, so I would consider doing it. I'm going to put a link in the description. We already provide a few cosmetic bonuses and early access to our director's cut videos and albums for our Patreons on Reddit and Discord, and I'm planning to carry over some bonuses to donators on this new website as well. As always, no content will be locked behind a paywall, but having a little something to stand out or get content early is the least we can give back. If for whatever reason you cannot give through Patreon or prefer one-time donations as opposed to reoccurring ones, I have also set up a Ko-Fi page, again, that's going to be in the link description, where you can donate. I need all the help the community can send, and while we usually cover the website bills, we do not get anything in return for all the time and energy spent. And believe me, as someone who's been able to see behind the scenes, it's a lot of time and energy that goes into this. And we do not come close to breaking even for what the four of us collectively do each week. So please, please, please consider it, and let's get to it. Power rankings of Episode 0. The Kazakhs remain the undisputed number one choice for the power ranking team. Just by the look at the setup, it's easy to see why. We'll get to the Kazakhs a little later, but if you have not already read through Episode 0 album, be sure to queue that up in your browser. With the usual prelude images covered, let's move on to the screenshots. From the depths, Brazil comes forth. And here we go, on to the first screenshot. All the screenshots from this episode and some of the next up to T50 are all actually recorded from my own CBR-capable machine that I acquired earlier this year. I ran dozens of Cbrix test runs, some of which were streamed live in my Twitch channel, and the final Season 1 run started off first in my machine before being handed off to Rian for the 24/7 video recording. I'll take a little time here to note some of the format changes. We've introduced a more consistent and thematically relevant naming convention for the albums. Each edition of Cbrix will be a season. with each album an episode and every image within a scene. The scene change in particular from the previous simple slide catch-all for every image was to differentiate better the introductory images, the screenshots, the stats images, and the new intermediary info images that will appear within episodes to provide summaries of notifications that don't always appear on the screen, like some wars, city flips, capital flips, and HRE leader changes. Oh, that Holy Roman Empire. As viewers have begun to notice, even though this is scene number 6, it has its own title that is not simply slide number 6 or screenshot number 1. This way, when discussing images, it will be easy to refer to specific images without confusion over slide number and screenshot number, etc., etc. If you're listening to the audio narration, this might make no sense to you whatsoever. But this also allows for narrators to introduce a little more creativity and flavor to their text by providing title names for the screenshots. So something fun for the kids, you know? Something funny to mention here, and no doubt on your mind, is that the sub will not be visible at the start of the game. Furthermore, during my tests, I would not even be bothered to place the actual sub there, instead leaving our Brazil-themed Babylonian settler and accompanying units here in the Antarctic crater unrevealed. The sub is replaced later, but for now, it is actually our lightly clothed little dudes huddled in the shadows of these mountains. Chillin' with the Nords. Let's cycle through our lineup. Starting off is Ragnar of the Vikings and Edney of the Sami, which are Scandinavian region representatives. As Iago has denounced on Reddit, the Vikings are sporting the more bright orange-hued color scheme than their usual pink on black. The Sami are strong contenders, and the PR team has good faith in them. Faith in particular is the right word, as the Sami will attempt to establish their own unique religion and begin to expand in the empty space between them and Muscovy. Reindeer Vistas. Bombagar of the Evanks knows most of the community will be overlooking the Evanks. This space of mostly tundra on the upper edge of Siberia is all too often overlooked in favor of the fan favorites in more cozy East Asia. A quiet civ due to their starting location, but this is a civ that likes to settle cities, so be sure to not forget about them. Bering Straits. Yupik are commonly compared with the past MK2 and MK1 contestants, the Inuit. However, Apanugpak is not Ekanik, even though both are legendary figures. For one, the Yupik do not have as many tile bonuses as the Inuit in similar territory, and they have more immediate neighbors in the Haida and the Metis. They do have their unique settler here already, the Alutiiq Hunter, which can embark right away and provide a unique Arctic luxury if they do so. Pretty nice. Remainers. Our British Isles representatives are Iliam Doan of the Manx and Robert the Bruce of Scotland. Thanks for the inspiration, Burger. Robert the Bruce has transcended to Civ 6, but returns here to lay claim to this corner of Europe. Challenging them will be the Manx, who start a bit flat-footed being on a one-tile island. Do not count them out just yet, but the first few parts will determine how long they can survive against the better-positioned Scotland. Nur Sultan. Shame about the recent name change, but here we have the glorious city of Astana, ruled over by Ablay Khan of the Kazakhs. Everyone has high expectations for the Kazakhs, and do not start off ranked at number 1 for nothing. A good civ with plenty of room and a somewhat decent color scheme. I can taste that potassium already. Hawk Whisperers. Fiona's feisty Kamad Khanate led by Jamuka. A civ that, like the Evanks just up north, will be overlooked at the start of the game, but those that have seen multiple tests know that the Kamag will be raiding in all directions and can obtain big boy status relatively quickly. A fine civ to be a fan of if you are not already decided. And damn, look at that color scheme. It's looking mighty fine. Just very hot. Hot enough to boil water. Raven Mischief. Now, here are the undisputed top tier. No bias, I swear, really. The Haida, led by Koya. Former Buccaneer aficionados like me will find a lot to love with the Haida. The true pirates of the season, no joke. This is true thanks to their unique ability, Eagle and Raven, which allows for naval melee units to perform attacks on land. It's pretty cool. And embark units can perform melee attacks on naval targets. They also love to spam their unique trireme, the War Canoe, so the entire coast lines from Kamchatka to Baja California are often under Haida control in test runs. Plus their primary color is salmon, and that's just really nice. Mixed feelings. Louis Riel leads the Metis and is our second Canadian representative after Canada itself. The Metis are a trade-centered civ that like to bulk up and have good relations. The PR team has ranked them high for their relatively safe and stable position, but test runs tend to leave the Metis trapped in their comfort zone. A safe civ to bet on to survive long into the game, although they have a strong rivalry with the Apaches, so conflict is not something they avoid altogether. Overlooking Lake Ontario. For an even more intense North American rivalry, here are Lunar's Canada and Chrissy's modified Iroquois. Two civs this close were always going to be at each other's throats, and the Iroquois' infamous aggression will be the start of many conflicts between these two. William Leon Mackenzie King of Canada has many production-focused unique traits that can turn Canada into a continent-sweeping monster, if they survive into the modern era to make use of them, that is. Whichever one of these civs wins the duel of fates will easily go on to be a top contender. Europa League. Look at all this rightful Holy Roman Empire clay. Well, it would be, but CBZ's Czech Republic led by Václav Havel, oh boy, new season and new names to pronounce, stands in the way. Czechia is a fan favorite that is consistent in conquering vast swaths of Europe, and their unique paratrooper, the Vyeskadar, can edge them on to have a big advantage later in the game. A potential Finland in the making. Lowly Prussia, led by Frederick in the corner, tends to settle well but has notoriously weak AI. Prussia's focus on domination and military-centered uniques are enough to ensure they at least won't go down without a fight. The big question mark is actually the Holy Roman Empire, the HRE for short, which is a true wildcard in every sense. They roll biases all over the place, and you never know how they will perform. This is in part due to their unique ability, Imperial Election, which randomly changes the leader of the civ upon every era. On the subreddit will be an exhaustive list of possible leaders, including the Sith Lord Pedro II himself. I can give you special insight though, and reveal that the starting leader this run is Bismarck, how typical of our German civ. Rigged elections. Tamatek's Goths, led by Alaric, have an excellent AI and typically stand out in AI games. They like to fight hard and fight often, so those that like to follow an aggressive civ should be comfortable supporting them. Their name and color scheme are sure to attract many, and the memes will be most delicious. Further north is Muscovy, led by Ivan IV. Muscovy has all the right ingredients to be a regional power, and the mod's creator, JFD, has packed it with uniques that would allow Muscovy to really shine in a battle royale. For some reason though, they are always middle-of-the-pack contenders, but don't sleep on them. Tartar Sauce. Another Khan, but this great unifier, Toktamish, fearsome ruler over Tartar lands. Him and his civ's name, Golden Horde, are perhaps the most notable thing to say about them. Created by obscure modder Chain Gun Fighter 1, the Golden Horde was such an outdated mod that Lime had to reconstruct it from the ground up to be allowed into the competition. It was that dicey. The Golden Horde is rather divisive since it was a decrepit civ taking up a slot that could have gone to a more favored civ to dominate the region. Saying that though, the Golden Horde does have its chances and tends to perform rather well despite the negative reception. We owe that all to Limerick Archer, who's just such a sweetheart. Is it Archer versus a chain gunner now? I don't know, but thanks to both of them for making the Golden Horde possible. Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Even though the Qing are centered better in the next screenshot, let's talk about these three together. The three Chinese representatives, the Qin, the Xing, and the Xia. all have something going for them. Oh, I was looking up how to pronounce all of them. The Xia are one of the most interesting mod civs available. Their unique ability, Dynastic Cycle, grants them stacking bonuses each time they lose their capital, construct a courthouse in a conquered foreign capital, or complete a social policy tree. Upon each change, the name of their capital will change, as well as their dynasty name. The Xing, led by Shiji, something like that, have already established a reputation to dominate just like the Manchus did IRL. It is typical in test runs to see them create great large armies rapidly, and even when at a city disadvantage, often field a larger military than their opponents. Don't be surprised if the Qing win many wars, giving them a straight path to regional domination. Captains Qin are not favored by the community over the adored Xia or the ruthless Qing, but given they have much space to work with, it's no surprise they perform well in test runs. Their unique ability, the Great Unity, allows them to gain the unique traits of conquered civs when they control the defeated original capitals, which is really good in a world domination game. Shell-shocked. Senshi Denshi's Joseon, led by Seonjo, is our Korean representative. Seonjo brings with him many military-focused uniques with an emphasis on naval domination. Test runs show that they make great use of their naval power and often have large overseas empires. Unlike vanilla Korea's Sejong, this civ will not be a science juggernaut, which means being trapped in the peninsula will not give them enough resources to turtle up and fight when they have a tech advantage over their neighbors, so they're going to have to move quickly if they don't want to get boxed in. The PR team ranked them in the bottom 10, but this seems like a rather big underestimation for the Koreans once again. Grey Goo. Shikoku is our Japanese representative and are led by Sakamoto Ryoma. This civ comes from Japanese civ specialist Homosubi, but their pedigree does not come with much assurances that they will do well in the BR. While still ranked above Korea, Shikoku is very inconsistent in performance, and their uniques do not really offer much of an advantage over their immediate rivals. It will take a combination of several good fortunes for them to replicate the success they had in a test run where they owned most of the Pacific Islands. Geronimo. Ugur Caesar's Apache are led by the famous Geronimo. Their uniques give them good bonuses when raiding and pillaging, and past AI games show that the Apache AI will make good use of them. Even so, the fact that they have a good starting location with plenty of land to expand upon means that even with no bonuses, the Apache would always perform well in this BR. It comes to no surprise that the PR team places them in the top 10. I'm looking for a personal Blackfoot replacement. This may be them, but again, maybe I'm going to look elsewhere for a non-North American civ to root for this time around, but that remains to be seen. Rags to riches. Poverty Point on the face of it has everything to be an entertaining civ, but whose AI more often than not leads to disappointment. The open land in North America available to them is a bit of a double-edged sword for Tahara, their leader, and gets overexcited and settles very quickly but often falls far apart, leading to overextension which the Apache and the Iroquois are all too happy to exploit. They do have a wonderful unique ability which revolves around the choice of Spirit Guardians, which, depending on your alignment, can be either necrotic or radiant damage, and everyone has to make, I think, a dex saving throw. Or am I getting confused about which game we're talking about? But anyway, it grants them a specific bonus, but it seems to be beyond what the AI can comprehend how to effectively use. If they survive long enough, they could be a fun civ to follow. Such meme. Venice is another vanilla modded civ by Chrissy, and it is presently a very polarizing civ in Season 1's lineup. There are many worthy civs that Venice beat out in the voting, and by the tiniest of margins too. The leader remains the same, Doge Enrico Dardolo, but this civ is allowed to build settlers. There is not much confidence in Venice given their crowded starting location and very lackluster performances in test runs. Time could prove all the haters wrong though, and some fans might revel in that hope. Plus they have such beautiful colors, can't get over that. Turkish Delight. The Ottomans, led by Mehmed II, is another JFD entry to the lineup, and a change in their starting location to Bosporus. Like other JFD civs in Season 1, this civ has great military options. The Bombard, in particular, their cannon replacement, is a true monster. Unlocked at gunpowder, it provides minus 20% combat strength, 11 versus 14, but plus 1 range, 3 versus 2, and plus 350% bonus against cities versus the 200%. That's nuts. This extra reach and firepower, coupled with their Janissaries, might paint the cylinder in a new shade of green. Greco-India. Tarcisio CM's Parthia, led by Mithridates I, is a mid-game optimized civ that wants to obtain as many horses as possible to spam their 2 unique units. A civ that could have had guaranteed regional victory if it was not for the immediate southern neighbor. But Parthia is still a very solid civ that can hold its own against the more favored Kazakhs and take their opportunities presented to them. Mountains and Valleys. Prithvi Narayan of Nepal and Indira Gandhi of India are another surefire rivalry that will decide how this part of the map will be colored. Both civs seem equally matched at first, with test runs having them equally balanced in early stages, but India has nuclear weapon uniques and a paratrooper unit that can give it a big advantage not just over Nepal, but any civ they decide to turn their attention to. This does not mean Nepal does not have its own advantages, as they have plenty of room to expand to if the Qin decide to focus more on China, leaving many mountain tiles available for them to exploit their unique bonuses on. Delicate Flowers. One of the 2 only pure vanilla civs in the game, the Aztecs already have fans with a year's worth of notoriety behind them for being shitposting extraordinaires. The Aztecs tend to be average, but safe choices to support. They have all of Mexico and Central America at their disposal, but test runs show that this AI does not like to settle as much as they should. A rather bland civ that will most likely be spiced up through community effort as opposed to in-game performance. Saint among the princes, the prince among the saints. Abdelkader of Algeria is a curious civ in that it is one of the least inspiring choices in the whole region, but it has found its way into the Battle Royale. DJS Henninger has designed a good civ with uniques that would favor a well-rounded approach to doing well. Even if the AI may not know how to best use its uniques, Algeria certainly spams their unique unit, the Day, which can build their unique citadels, the Cassars. Cassars deal more damage to surrounding troops than regular citadels, and Algeria has carpeted all of North Africa before in test runs with them. Not quite the Pholus Mutagen level of surrounding damage, but if they cover the desert with them, it will be difficult for any civ to invade them. The Moors, on the other hand, led by Abd ar-Rahman III, are already well familiar with the CBR community. Having also been voted for entry into Mark III, the Moors are consistent, well-performers in AI games and test runs. If the Moors can survive until they can build their crossbowman replacement, the Grenadine Cavalry, we might see the majority of Europe painted in their colors. Lion of the Desert. Omar Mokhtar of Libya is Jay Mangelo's pride and joy, and was easily voted into Season 1. Libya is another citadel-spamming Maghreb representative that in many ways is very similar to their close rival in Algeria. Libya has the advantage of having an AI that races to be amongst the first, if not the first civ to always found a religion in test runs, and viewers can be assured that Sunni Islam will make an approach in Tripoli. Libya's position is not the most generous and will have to wait for rare opportunities to expand beyond the coastline. Hex-Tiled Labyrinth. Manoa, led by Minos, is another wild card that, if it was not contained to this one-tile island start and crowded region, would surely be in the top 10 in rankings instead of the bottom 10. This AI is incredibly good and extremely aggressive, like the Minotaur. If Manoa are given an inch, they will take the region and then some. Their success really comes down to where they settle first. They tend to favor the Nile Delta, which, while a very attractive settlement between those river plains, Nearby Nubia does not like strangers on their river. Opposite the rivers. Firebug's Palmyra, led by Zenobia, already has plenty of fans in the community, and their start is just right to ensure they can build up to take the fight to their neighbors. Coupled with a wonderful color scheme and a very strong early game, the Civ is known to be easily in the top half of Civs, and the PR team has ranked them appropriately at 21. But Alp Arslan of the Seljuks is a pebble in the shoes of both Palmyra and Parthia. Nested in the middle of Persia, the Seljuks have not much where to go, and it will take a while for them to have the means to really challenge anyone. On top of that, Oman likes to settle rather close to the areas most likely for them to want to build a defensive line around. It'll be tough being a Seljuk fan, but maybe some fans like cheering for a true underdog. Tanhu? For those who wanted war elephants, well, Bayanag of the Tongu is all too happy to oblige. Emerald Range's Tongu might not even be registered in most viewers' minds as a contestant, and with their color scheme it sometimes is hard to even notice them in between all those jungle tiles. But the Tongu are a dark horse and not an underdog, with plenty of room to grow and some interesting uniques to bolster up Southeast Asia. In particular, their unique ability, Amudan Conscription, allows all of their puppeted cities to produce a free melee unit every 5 turns during Golden Ages. They gain Golden Age points for conquering cities, so the larger their empire grows, the larger their military can potentially become. They do not have many immediate neighbors to start conquering, but if they can get there, the Civ will never be short of troops. Pure junk. Scissors' second Civ in Season 1, say that 10 times fast, the Canton Pirates, are led by Qing Shi, and given their name, have attracted a number of Buccaneer fans ever since they were first up for voting for Mark III back in 2016. Seems like so long ago. It's been a while since then, but the Canton Pirates will finally be put to the test. On that note, test runs show that the Canton Pirates either do really well or very poorly. They have plenty of room to grow and no immediate threat, but they have to build along the coastline first before they terrorize the ocean. Refugee Crisis. Lugis Haiti, led by Toussaint Louverture, is the receiving end of most of the jokes and disaffection given their starting location and unbelievably unambitious AI. Haiti deserves much of the criticism it receives, but there have been highlights in test runs. Community member Waglan says it's best in stating that we should look on the bright side. They can't disappoint, which is entirely true. Anything that Haiti does well will be the cause of much celebration. DMS's Venezuela, on the other hand, is almost the exact opposite. This Civ's starting rank is at number 10, and test runs collaborate with this assessment. It is not endowed with the best of uniques, but the AI is quite strong and has rather tame neighbors to prevent them from bulking up. It is tempting to create a rivalry between them and Haiti, given the positioning of the screenshot, but these two could be no farther apart by their chances to succeed. I, for one, just want Haiti to found voodoo and spread it across the globe. Voodoo Planet, please. Rich Vanilla. Our second and last vanilla Civ is the Songhai. Unfortunately, they beat out the Dahomey in the voting, and I'm pissed. Between them and the Aztecs, the Songhai have the better odds, and they have all of West Africa to themselves. Test runs do show them fighting several wars early with their counterpart Benin, but Songhai is consistent in doing well, despite maybe losing a few cities early on. The PR team has high expectations of them, placing them at number 24, but in my test runs, it seems like they might be the target of many invasions, as all their neighbors want to claim their resource-heavy domain. The Songhai have a decent chance to paint this part of the world in their colors for a very long time, but a single coalition while fighting war-mad Benin could open it up for Libya or Algeria to swoop in. River Ransom. Pi of Nubia and the Kushites likes to build pyramids and archers. Not much else I can tell you about her. For me, they are the early game jerks of the game because they like to bully Manoa from settling, but apart from that, you won't see much of them until the mid-game. With not many immediate threats, they will carve up their small slice of Africa and hold it down well. Not the most exciting civ, but one that will be safe and happy in mediocrity. I tend to disagree. I think they're pretty cool. Desert Folklore. Saif bin Sultan of Oman and Gudit of Beta Israel are not in the most enviable of tiles, but will do well of establishing their own niches. Oman is a trade and gold-centered civ, which usually expands quickly despite lackluster desert tiles to the immediate access. In fact, they like to settle much closer to the Seljuks, which can be to their benefit or doom, depending on how the battles go. Beta Israel, on the other hand, focuses its attention on faith bonuses and doing well to be ignored until they can strike at Nubia. Beta Israel is not known for founding a religion, which makes its faith strategy rather mute. But both civs seem to be in the middle-of-the-road competitors that have to wait for the right moment as opposed to taking the initiative. Peasant Overlords. The Maratha are our South Indian representatives and start the game immediately with a safe and clear position. All of their uniques come in the latter half of the mid-game, so they don't look to make use of them until then. In test runs, they like to stay in this cozy part of the world. However, they can become too comfortable, and it is common for them to lose Sri Lanka to Oman. Attention will surely be more up north, but if Maratha forward settles India, what is typically a fight mostly between India and Nepal can have Maratha coming in to steal the leftovers. Oh my. Cardboard Sulu, led by Jamalal Karam II, are the highest ranked one-tile island civ, and even without knowing their strengths, a look at this screenshot shows you why. The Sulu have no close threats and are free in settling all of their immediate territory. The only other civ that can contest them here early on is Papua, but Papua usually leaves Sulu alone. However, the opposite is not true, and Sulu likes to bully Papua and Canton around right from the start using their unique triremes, the Proa. Their unique ability grants them faith upon kills, and sometimes in test runs, their early aggression pays off and they get to found a religion. Jungle Fortress. Anetu of the Kwikuru might have more options than Haiti, but this is an AI who prefers to be passive despite every opportunity to be a strong regional power. The Kwikuru may be the Tibet of this season for the sole fact that their capital, Koikugu, I hope I got that one, is one of the most difficult cities to conquer given their unique ability that keeps jungle tiles intact even when building improvements. I've often seen the Kwikuru quickly reduced to this last city, but remain in the game well beyond turn 300. There's still a chance that they can settle a few cities and survive along northeastern Brazil, but the odds are against them. Icon says it all. Benin occupy the space the Ashanti did in Mark II, but this is a civ that loves to declare war any chance it gets. They tend to forward settle civs around them and produce large armies in favor of teching up instead. It is common to see Benin hold a large empire in extended test runs, and sometimes are the African continent winners, but they need to pace themselves well as they are vulnerable to enemies on multiple fronts, and it is also common to see them be losing two front wars just like their Ashanti predecessors. Their unique ability grants citadels under their control to have ranged attacks each turn. Normally this would be unspectacle, but given that two of their neighbors spam citadels, if Benin takes their territory over, they gain a very strong defensive network. Green Machine. Gademo's Papua is heavily favored by the PR team with its top 20 ranking, and like the Sulu, start with embarkment so all of this territory is within their reach. Although test runs show their AI to be a bit timid when it comes to settling, which could be early disaster for them. Even so, expect a few Papua cities in northern Australia before too long, and God, I gotta say, I love those colors. I'm sorry if it's too radioactive for most, but I think they're pretty cool. 6:36 p.m. When is Tonga time? Probably in the early-late game when Tonga's modern-era bonuses push the civ into overdrive. Explosive Watermelon's Tonga is an enigma, going several test runs settling only one additional city, or sometimes none at all, but then every 10 or so runs explodes and have all of their South Pacific by turn 300. This is a bizarre civ with a nice color scheme and effortless memes. If this is one of those breakout runs, well, we'll be seeing Tonga as a top contender, or perhaps eaten by New Zealand again. Probably aliens. The Nazca are led by Kawahachi, and like Benin, might be associated with the past edition's regional competitors from their similar location. Nazca in many ways are like the Inca, probably more so than the connections between Benin and the Ashanti. It is a slightly different setup though, and the Nazca have a little more breathing room and perform while in war. They could pull off a surprising upset in the region, but it will take a fair amount of luck. At last we can have our revenge. Nzinga returns to the CBR, this time leading the more appropriate civilization Ndongo, rather than Congo. Unlike before, Nzinga this time comes equipped with many uniques that gave her civilization several advantages in war. Rivers in particular will be important in Ndongo, and will look to settle along river fronts. Across test runs, Ndongo is the big African menace, and has a strong military to expand further northwards. This is the African civ to watch for those looking to support dominant civs. Time to move it. Ranavalano I leads Madagascar, a marina in-game, and by just looking at the geography, it seems destined to occupy this corner of the map and not much else. But test runs prove otherwise, and this is a civ that likes to pull off some surprises. They sometimes surprise us as religious founders and spread their faith through trade all across the rim of the Indian Ocean. The Red Chief. Gambu Ganuru is our Aboriginal Australian representative this season and is the direct competitor with Australia for most of the continent. The Murri are not known to shy away from fighting and will fight with Australia early and often, as the two civs will jostle for the early advantage that will determine who survives. The Murri might have the advantage given their more favorable starting position, but they also are more open to attacks from other directions. So while optimistic, Murri fans should be cautious. Eternally nerfed. Technostar's Uruguay has been debated since the first AI games it appeared in. This is a civ that even without their bonuses do perform well given the present CBR circumstances. But it is no longer guaranteed victory for them, and the civ went through a long process and trails to scale back their code that allowed them to buy military units with excess gold. This feature is now gone, but Uruguay still remains a favorite in the region despite all of the adjustments. Be sure to look out for when the civ switches between its two political parties every 30 or so turns, as each one give Uruguay quite a different personality. What could have been? The late Bob Hawke of Australia was still alive while the game was being recorded, but his spirit has moved on and his AI counterpart stands to live up to the name. Australia is the usual instant contender to win the game, but has to prove it can expand outside its region onto a mainland to succeed where Parkes failed. Richard Seddon of New Zealand, on the other hand, has everything to prove. But past AI games indicate that New Zealand will be an even more fearsome naval power than Australia. Test runs show a positive trend of early victories for New Zealand, and given that they only have an erratic Tonga as the closest true danger to a backdoor attack, New Zealand will be able to outshine the Maori from Mark II. Actually aliens. And finally to Grand Selknam, which is the most odd of civs and definitely the strangest of Season 1. And starting to be my personal little favorite. They might be who I'm rooting for because we're all about eldritch power. Their leader, Zoan Uante, sure that's it, is as mysterious as they come, and the community has already taken to their strange aesthetic. The civ was nerfed after early test runs had them easily conquer most of the continent, but since then have been content with focusing mostly on Patagonia. Selknam are also the only non-island civ to start the game with the same sailing bonus as given other civs. During test runs, this has led to them owning land far above in northeastern Brazil and even in North America. It's rare, but they sometimes go even to the opposite pole, to Greenland, for some bizarre reason. perhaps to summon some kind of dark, far-speaking god. On to the show. We are now past introductions and the competition has begun. We even went past turn 3, but this is because the civs just moved a couple of units around and we still have up to turn 30 to cover today. Expect a few quick turns to go by per screenshot during this album, as all the competitors are still warming up. We can see a few settlers moving already, and New Zealand benefits from its early embarkment buff to move its settler onto South Island. Black and gold. The Goths make a statement and settle Gothiscandza next to the Golden Horde's capital, Scandalas to be sure. Horde, on the other hand, move into the safe Caucasus Mountains with Sare Barak. Gorkas. The Gorkas have a mighty reputation, and the city of Gorka is planted right at Indira's doorstep. Nepal could have settled in literally any other direction, but has gone with the risky play. To the hills. A pair of safe settles for Nubia and Beta Israel. Nubia does not want any trouble and look to leave enough space for another city further south along the Nile in the future. I keep wanting to say Beetle Israel. Along the coasts. Both Scandinavians settled their second cities along the coasts. The Vikings' Ribe, whatever you want to call them, looks to be a good settle, but the Samis... You gotta be fucking kidding me. Guavdagulny looks to be the worst off of the two, and the Sami really could have settled in better tiles at the start. Asking for trouble. The Qin forward settle Xia with Yongcheng and quickly move all of their troops to protect it. The Xia settler does not seem to mind and will be placing their city in the middle of Qin and Qing. The Q2 attack strategy is never a good one for Xia. Oof. At the time of recording this, there's no other narration to add to this. It's just oof. Look at the clock. Tonga settles early, which is always a cause of celebration. This is a good sign for things to come from the sometimes comatose Civ. Colorado's. Uruguay switches to the Colorado Party and gains a one-time boost in science and a temporary production bonus in their cities. On screen is a shot of the South Georgia Islands for reasons unknown. Ask Lime. 3B. Burano, Brno, and Bursa all settled away from danger, and all three civs are in a good start. Venice in particular looks set to prevent anyone from the continent from moving on to the Italian peninsula. Princes of Persia. Our two Persian civs both settled to their respective eastern directions, but Hamadan looks quite vulnerable in the open plains. However, I suppose any settle looks dangerous for the Seljuks. Announcing ScoutCon 3440 BCE. It would not be a battle royale without scouts secretly rendezvousing above the Siberian Arctic Circle. Whatever mysterious power is here, only scouts and the Nenets will know, which, by the way, Lime seems to have forgotten about and did not get an intro screenshot, poor boys and girls. Ice Sheet Flow. The Yupik do not waste time and have already settled 3 cities by turn 14. This bodes well for a civ that often waits to settle, although this seems to have come at the expense of any accompanying military units. Golden. Turn 20 and already we here in the sub have entered a golden age. Mini Pedro sure knows how to keep the good times going. Too ambitious. Songhai settles even closer to Benin with Dijen and Eware. There you go. Benin has already sent troops to greet the new arrivals. This is not the way to play with Benin around. Same old Eastern Europe. Our 3 Mark III picks seem to be doing well for themselves. Prussia in particular has the making of a good corps already. The Goths have decided to create an early strong army instead of settling again, and given that Muscovy has not dedicated as much in military, this seems to be the best choice for them. Bam! Askia of Songhai is not satisfied just yet and settles a 4th city further to the west with Bamako. Benin is starting its war machine and already has enough troops to take Songhai's early city lead away. European Caliphate. The Moors move into France, and given the lack of settlements in the area, this is a good early start for them. The Moors are favorites to win in Europe, and they are making good early moves. Straightforward. Havel of Czechia settles again in what appears to be a dagger pointed at the Ottomans. It might look bold, but given the lack of troops and the distance from possible reinforcements, while the Ottomans field a far number already, Ostrava might be green before too long. Better together. Maratha settles northwards while India goes west again. Allahabad looks very isolated here, and just off screen in the north is Parthia. Indira has at least invested in a sizable military to accompany their settlements. Braving the jungles. Ndongo and Zimbabwe settle away from the jungles, but Zimbabwe's Dolo Dolo does not appear to be so protected by the thick vegetation before too long. What a fun name to pronounce. Ndongo settles predictably along the riverfront and is moving their next settler northwards to another river as well. The world's greatest cities. At the info slides already, yes, I know. Now, no moaning, everyone knows the civs take at least 30 turns to do much of anything, so we'll have to confirm to these introductions in the video posted on our YouTube channel to see the map in full from every turn. On the slide itself, we see the Ndongo's capital is ranked the highest, despite being not so high in population in comparison with the others. Sulu, Yupik, and Haiti also sport good early capital cities. Sorry, I thought it was Haida, but Haiti it is. Pantheons. A quick look at some of the pantheons. The civs that have reached here are a good indication of some of the religions to expect the next episode. But Desert Folklore and Dance of the Aurora going to the Seljuks and the Evenks, respectively, are good picks given their locations. We can also see that the Sunni has already been founded as our first religion, and you could probably guess correctly who was the civ responsible. Pantheons continued. A few more names to look through and more speculation. I cannot say this episode who are the final religion founders, but some of these names could give you confidence. The Light of the World. No surprise, it is Libya which establishes Sunni so early on in the game. Sunni will have an early start as it usually does. As keen observers will notice, there are still 13 more religion slots available, and they should all be filled by episode 3. Now this is pod racing. Now we could not leave the first episode without some juicy drama, right? Given we have most of the game already recorded, it would be silly ending the episode right before this turn. Turn 31 and we have our first war. Qin declaring on Xia. As we saw earlier, Xia are really in a bad position, and worse still is their lack of a military. This scenario often plays out in test runs of Xia, and it almost never has an optimistic ending. But to find out, you'll have to stay tuned into next week for another episode of the Seabricks. For more updates, be sure to follow the subreddit and Discord for all the banter and speculation. And if you want to stay up to date to all the videos, the audio narrations that are going to be coming out, please like and subscribe to this channel. That's where all of these videos are going to be coming out. There's also the Civ Battle Royale official YouTube channel. And it really helps us out. Like I said before, please check out the comments for the donation, the Patreon and the Ko-Fi thing, or Ko-Fi, whatever you want to call it. But I appreciate, and we appreciate, and the whole community appreciates your support. So until next week, we'll see you next time.